Before we do anything else, I'm probably live streaming the Ubisoft Forward right now. A link is in the description down below. You can watch it live or you can watch it after, but I'm fingers crossed that they'll have some awesome Nintendo Switch announcements since they have supported the system quite well. We know they'll cover Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows, so it should be fun regardless, but maybe something sneaky sneaks in there. Good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. We've got our best update on Nintendo Direct yet, as well as two games that were mysteriously absent from this weekend's Summer Game Fest festivities, and that I believe have a great shot at showing up at the Nintendo Direct. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Hope you're doing fantastic out there. We did not get a Direct announcement this morning, and it's looking more and more like this show is going to be later in the month. Now, next week is what everybody is kind of pegging as the plan. June 18th-ish seems like the right date, but just now we have Brazil coming in and stating that Nintendo does not have a date set, which seems bananas. Brazil is the leaker who first became very prominent by leaking that the Switch 2 was delayed, and Brazil says that Nintendo does this all the time. He says that their Nintendo Direct dates do shift, and sometimes even the same week do need to move and shift. I find that to be bonkers, but I'll take him at face value. And he does not know the set date yet because he says neither does Nintendo. He just knows it's later in the month. His exact tweet is, "There is no Nintendo Direct this week. End of the month as far as I know. The exact date isn't even certain yet," which is pretty crazy, especially considering we know the end of the month has Luigi's Mansion 2. That game drops on a Thursday as Nintendo has shifted their release date from Friday to Thursdays, meaning any Direct that week, whether Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, is right butted up against Luigi's Mansion. Typically, Nintendo does not like to do this because it sort of infringes upon the release timing of their game, and the marketing that they could be dedicating to their new release is instead dedicated to all of these future games. It seems like a mismanaged use of resources, so next week still feels like a great week to me, but Brazil is saying end of the month. Next week surely isn't end of the month, and we do have a holiday on next Wednesday, which throws kind of a wrench in when Nintendo could announce and could reveal this. We do know that Moonstone Island randomly drops next Wednesday, which is odd, although I have seen indie games release on Wednesdays before. Some people have tried to tie that into a Nintendo Direct, but at this point, I got no freaking clue. I have no freaking clue when it's going to be anymore. It's going to be in June. We know that. Nintendo has confirmed that. But if they're undecided, if Brazil is saying end of the month, Piero here was asked about a Direct on June 11th tomorrow, and he said he's heard nothing about this. Again, just because leakers haven't heard anything doesn't mean that there's nothing happening, but it is a bit bizarre that the biggest leakers are saying, like, nothing happening this week. And maybe with the extension of Summer Game Fest into this week with the Ubisoft Forward today, and with a lot of embargoes approaching later in this week. That's something I did not know was happening, that games that are being seen this weekend or have already been seen, they're not allowed to talk about till later in the week. So even though the press conferences are over after today, they're doing like a Visions of Mana reveal tomorrow, Dragon Age gameplay is being revealed on Wednesday, I think, or maybe the other way around. Either way, they're utilizing this week as a bonanza for all of this other gaming news, and Nintendo typically don't like that. They would rather have their own shine, and that'll be next week or right before Luigi's Mansion. I still lean next week, but like I said, I don't know. Maybe they do want to have it right before Luigi's Mansion. Perhaps they're going to stealth drop Luigi's Mansion 1 on Nintendo Switch like they've done with past GameCube titles, Pikmin 1 and 2 and Metroid Prime. It seems very, very curious, but we will get a Nintendo Direct within the next 2.5 weeks. Like that is guaranteed. Nintendo will not bail on a promise that they've already made, so we know that's happening, we just don't know when. Now, in terms of two games that I think could show up, given they didn't show up this past weekend, it's Hollow Knight Silksong and Plucky Squire. Hollow Knight Silksong was thought to be maybe at the Xbox Showcase because that's where it showed up last. A few years back, they were like, this game's out in 12 months or less. Never came out. Nintendo initially showed this off at a Direct back around E3, but haven't heard from it in a Nintendo way since. Could Hollow Knight Silksong finally appear at this upcoming Nintendo Direct? I think there's a strong chance. If Hollow Knight Silksong does not appear now, it's what? Waiting for Gamescom, waiting for a September Direct, waiting for 2025. If they don't get this thing out now, will they ever? The fact that it skipped Microsoft's Xbox Showcase is interesting, but it didn't really have any indie games. Everything was either AA or AAA, or in some cases quadruple A, and therefore it would make sense that Hollow Knight Silksong wouldn't really find a place. Perhaps Microsoft didn't even ask it to be a part of it. Nintendo would be a better hub, I think, for Hollow Knight Silksong, and even though Nintendo is planning to unveil a number of first-party games, Hollow Knight Silksong probably speaks to the Nintendo Direct crown better than it does speak to the Xbox Showcase crown, with games like Gears of War E-Day and Perfect Dark kind of monopolizing the hype and focusing more on a mature audience. Not to say Hollow Knight is for babies or anything, it's absolutely not, and probably harder than both of those games, but I do sort of think Nintendo's appeal would fit with Team Cherry and where they may want to reintroduce their game. Now, the Plucky Squire we know is coming out sometime in 2024, but it was an interesting omission from Devolver's Direct. That crazy show with Volvi had some new announcements, but also updates on other titles like Angerfoot that we saw alongside Plucky Squire before. With those games getting near release dates, maybe Plucky Squire is a stealth drop. Maybe Nintendo Direct is going to give it its date. Now, previously Pepper Grinder got its release date at a Nintendo Direct. That's another Devolver joint. It was not a stealth drop, but it came out shortly after the Direct. Maybe they'll do the same with Plucky Squire. Stealth drop, near release, I'm not really sure, but it's odd to me that Plucky Squire did not show up with a launch date anywhere, and the fact that Nintendo does have a Direct that will need to be filled with stuff, maybe they did work out a deal with Devolver themselves. Furthermore, on the Direct train, Midori is coming back and kind of covering their butt. I don't know if this is the case of like trying to rewrite what happened, trying to make sure that they aren't wrong, or if they're genuinely just correcting something that was misinterpreted. Because if you recall, Midori said that the Nintendo Direct would be peak with a capital P, and it seemed to insinuate that the Direct was going to be a banger of a show, and capital P surely felt like a prime reference. But Midori now says, I am just excited for Nintendo Direct. I mean, I like Nintendo and I'm excited for a new Nintendo Direct. I don't have Nintendo Direct information. Is that true? Or is this just covering? Because we do know Midori was taking a time away from Twitter and leaks for a while and then returned. We know Nintendo is aggressive on the hunt. Are they covering their butt so that Nintendo doesn't think they actually do know if they do? Or do they really not know? I'll say that, again, they are grammatically correct in almost all of their posts, so it's very odd that they did capitalize the P, and I sort of believe that they do know something, but they don't want others, especially Nintendo themselves, to know that they know something. Either way, we are clearly in a period where one of two things is happening. Nintendo is setting the Direct, and it really is backing up right against the end of the month, and Luigi's Mansion 2, or we're in a situation where nobody knows what's happening with the Nintendo Direct because no leaks are out there. Has Nintendo finally put a stopper in the drain, the pipes that were bursting at the seams for the recent Directs in recent years? Did Nintendo find a way to silence these sources and make sure leakers don't have access to all the in-depth information they had previously? We'll have to wait and see. Nobody really knows what's in the Direct. Nobody seems to know when the Direct is, and nobody has any idea what Nintendo is up to, which I think is a recipe for awesomeness. I do believe that the confusion around Nintendo is a good thing this time and not a bad thing. In the past, it's revealed itself that way. When people are like, oh, there's no games announced, it's Zelda and then nothing. Well, we ended up getting Mario Wonder, Mario RPG, and a pretty good holiday season. I think the same will be true for this year, except maybe even stronger, given that we have nothing, and there was nothing that big in the summer months, like when we had Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Nintendo needs some top-tier titles to get out there, to sell units, to sell software, and to make sure Nintendo has a very profitable holiday season. One more Nintendo speculative rumor is that Pushmo could possibly be returning soon, and this is a franchise and a game that I really enjoy. Intelligent Systems is the makers of Pushmo, and Intelligent Systems updated their website to now have a specific Pushmo category, which is interesting because no games in this franchise have been seen for a while now. Perhaps they're just reorganizing what they've already worked on, or perhaps there's something Pushmo scheduled for this month's Nintendo Direct. Now, I think Pushmo would be a great eShop game in the same vein as Kirby's Dream Buffet. That would be kind of a nice little stealth drop, or something that Nintendo could promote and advertise maybe in the month of July, which is an otherwise slow month aside from Nintendo World Championships, which I think will be fun, but is pretty niche. Either way, I hope Pushmo comes back. I hope this Direct appears soon, and I'll keep you posted on anything legitimate that does drop. Right now, though, it really does seem like everybody is absolutely unsure, and so we'll leave it at that for now. Let me know your take on today's topics in the comments down below. Hopefully the Ubisoft Forward has some fun stuff, and hopefully I get to see some of you there. In the meantime, though, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there, everybody. Love you so much. SwitchForce out.